Obama trying to inspire Democrats and the nation like he did 4 years ago. Lots been made of some enthusiasm gap that Democrats this time aren't as fired up as they were 4 years ago. The cheers tonight not as deafening, not as widespread as they were with 86,000 people in the stadium in Denver. Obviously they had to move this inside, but you can hear them now. This room is behind the president. They've been fired up all week. They've had amazing reactions to some of the speeches here in Charlotte.
He wants to have better jobs for people. He does not want to have more people being more dependent on government.
So he wasn't expressing any disdain for people who are poor or who are on entitlement programs at this point?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
He sat on so many lines of argument and lines of attack that we hear from him every day in his campaign speeches that we see on the air all the time in these ads. There are 2 ads running on the 47% comment, but when he was face-to-face with Mitt Romney, the president didn't want to say those things to his face.
With tens of millions of viewers, with a big opportunity to use those and to characterize that definition.
I think he didn't want to look petty or small, but I think he looked smaller than the moment in sort of refusing to engage Mitt Romney. Romney was landing body shot after body shot, and Obama was just defending himself, and he never counterpunched. There are dozens of combinations of the swing states that are still on the map that could get either candidate to 270. If Romney loses Ohio, then he's got to turn New Hampshire, Iowa, and Colorado to get back the difference and get over the threshold.
As he was riding the trains that go right underneath Times Square here, looking for a place where if he were to set off his bomb, he might kill the most people possible. But the police who were trailing him on that day, September 11th, 2009, they didn't know any of that, only that he was loose on the subway here in New York City.
We're out here in support of Romney, actually.
And who's paying you for this?
Let me see. We're working for the county clerk's office.
You heard her right. The young woman says she's working for the county clerk's office, but admits to trying to build support for Mitt Romney. Turns out she was working for a private firm with a history of voter fraud. Fox 31 Denver's Eli Stokols broke this story this morning on KDVR.com and begins our election 2012 coverage tonight. Eli?
And Deb, all day we've been hearing more and more stories about voter registration fraud here in Colorado and in other states. Fraud by people working for this firm that was hired by Republicans and how this week has just been fired over the fraud allegations. Colorado Secretary of State telling us just this afternoon that one person hired by the company to register Coloradans actually tore up a completed registration form recently because it came from a Democrat.
Hey girls, all registered to vote right now?
How important is registering voters? Colorado's Republican Party spent close to $500,000, half its total budget, paying a firm to register voters. A firm that was fired this week by the GOP here and in the 6 other states where it had been hired. Why? Because they appear to have been focused mostly on registering Republicans.
I'm actually trying to register people for a particular party because we're out here in support of Romney, actually.
This video of a girl admitting the strategy outside a grocery store in Colorado Springs has already been seen on YouTube more than 400,000 times. And Fox 31 Denver confirms she was working for the firm in question.
The Republican Party in Colorado should never have approved hiring this firm.
Nathan Sproul, who runs Lincoln's strategy group, has a long history of voter fraud. But Mitt Romney's campaign and the RNC both hired him this year after asking him to rename his company Strategic Allied Consulting.
People did know, or at least had a solid inkling as to what kind of an operator he was, and chose to continue to enlist him.
Despite the name change, the same tactics have Sproul's new company under investigation for voter registration fraud in 10 Florida counties. That's what prompted its firings by the GOP in Colorado and the other states this week.
This doesn't sound like it's an isolated incident. It sounds to me like there's a concerted effort by the Colorado Republican Party and perhaps in conjunction with the National Republican Party to go out and selectively register people, which is not the way that it's supposed to happen.
The Colorado Republican Party turned down an interview request today, but issued a statement saying they take any threat to the voting process very seriously. And they note, we are not aware of any voter registration irregularities from our efforts to register voters. And Secretary of State Scott Gessler tells us that there are layers of checks against fraud in the forms that are turned in. If you've registered recently, it's probably wise to go online and check to make sure the Secretary of State actually got your form and has your correct information on file.
Number 426, number 426.
Steve's Snappin' Dogs is a small shop on Colfax.
Cook these guys right up. We have up to 20 employees depending on the time of the year.
Where Steve Ballas sells hot dogs for about $4 each.
Spicy mustard.
And lately lobbies his customers to vote no on Denver's Initiative 300.
There's no accountability the way this rule is written.
He doesn't want to be forced by the proposal to give his employees 9 paid sick days a year.
A small business like myself is being treated like a business that has 300 people.
And Monday morning's press conference shows he's not alone.
Local small business owners and independent restaurateurs have come together in opposition.
Enjoy your lunch.
But 3 of 4 people working in Denver's restaurants and coffee shops don't have any paid sick days.
You should never have to choose between your health, the health of your employers and your employees and your customers, and keeping your job.
Joel, a waiter at a well-known restaurant downtown, says that sick workers don't often stay home.
It's just a very simple economic fact. If I stay home and don't get paid, I don't make money.
I know what I want.
He says paid sick days won't include tips.
Still losing money by staying home.
But would still help.
A small business needs to be able to take care of that on their own.
But Steve Ballas and most restaurant owners say being forced to pay so many sick days will impact the long-term health of their businesses.
You know, we police ourselves, and we don't want sick people there. We want people to vote no on Proposition 300. There you go, enjoy. Because it'll kill small business.
Under the ordinance, businesses with fewer than 10 employees will have to pay just 5 sick days a year, not 9. The Bell Policy Center, a left-leaning think tank, out just this afternoon with a survey analyzing laws like this that have already passed in cities like San Francisco and Washington, D.C., and they say the benefits, like increased worker productivity and better public health, outweigh the modest cost to businesses. I'm Eli Stokols, Channel 2 News. Washington is a town of people constantly coming and going. Elections bringing constant change from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to Capitol Hill.
I think that it's gotten worse this last year.
So what's different now?
Last year was a really difficult year.
Is D.C. more dysfunctional than ever?
What the old-timers say to me is that they do generally say that it's never been worse than it is right now.
Democrats like Diana DeGette, who's been in Congress the longest of Colorado's 9 members, point to 2010's Tea Party takeover.
The Tea Party folks came into Washington with an agenda which said, don't negotiate, it's our way or the highway. You can't negotiate with a terrorist.
We've had 3 points where we basically came close to shutting the government down.
Golden's Ed Perlmutter blames Tea Party obstinacy for last year's debt ceiling debacle that saw the country's bond rating lowered.
So there's been this drama and brinksmanship on those kinds of points.
I sometimes call this place the land of flickering lights because the standard of success is, oh, we kept the lights on for another 2 weeks.
I think Republicans do struggle.
Centennial Republican Mike Kaufman was elected in 2008, 2 years before the Tea Party wave.
Some of the problem in some of our members is God bless them, they're very ideological.
And Kaufman admits the Tea Party members do make it hard for the Republican House majority to find common ground with a Democratic Senate and White House.
To get things done, to govern, we are going to have to compromise. And I know that's a tough word for some folks.
It is simply immoral to allow this kind of deficit spending to continue.
Yuma's Cory Gardner rode 2010's Tea Party wave to Congress and won't apologize for refusing to budge on his promise to stand up to Speaker John Boehner when he feels conservative principles are being compromised.
I'm not going to be afraid to tell leadership they're wrong. In fact, I've done it before. And have stood up and gone toe-to-toe with leadership. And we need more people who will do that.
In a town where the only constant is constant change.
There's always an election around the corner, and that's the problem.
November offers the nation its next chance to hold Washington accountable, to tell Congress which direction it should go.
None of this is going to be easy to do, but we don't have an option but to do it. It's just a question of how long this is going to take us.